Namo Nama. In last class, we studied that there are four Vedas with around 20,000 mantras, which form the foundation of Sanskrit language. And Vedas are Sanatan or eternal. They are the source code of all wisdom. Vedic Sanskrit is a very conceptual, very natural language, the mother of all languages in the world. And modern Sanskrit is more complex. It's a derivative of the Vedic, the language of the Vedas, but with certain rigid rules conditioned upon the way people started using Vedas, the Sanskrit language over a period of time. For example, if in current context certain words that we use become part of our lingo with some separate connotation, then uh, we no more care about the original meaning of the word, or even if we care about it, sounds very inappropriate to use the word outside that context. So that is how the modern Sanskrit was born, where they said that at time of Panini was the one who compiled it in a most structured format, and whatever were the conventions of his time, that was what became the Sanskrit grammar. The problem is that we took that Sanskrit grammar very seriously, and so much that we forgot that the root is Vedic Sanskrit, and hence uh, it is quite possible that something which is used in a rigid context in modern Sanskrit may have a more open, more meaningful, more conceptual meaning when it comes to the Vedic Sanskrit. Uh, Let me give an example. Putra. The Putra Shabd, the word Putra in the context of modern Sanskrit means son. In context of Vedic Sanskrit, yes, at times it means son, but more often than not, putra means child in general. It can be a son, it can be a daughter. When it's a daughter, the Vedic Sanskrit specifically specifies that yes, we need to use a feminine form here. The entire foundation of Vedas is that it's gender neutral to a large extent, and wherever something is specifically for women, for females, then it specifies with the feminine gender. And even going further, for most of the mantras, putra means someone. Tra means removing, and pu means pavitra, somebody who purifies you by removing your problems, removing your hurdles, removing your obstacles. Hence, Ishwar is also called Putra, and we are also called Putra. So, the essence of meaning changes. So, as I said, modern Sanskrit, best practices, conventions, don't take it too seriously. So, father is Vedic Sanskrit, uh, and it's a very strictly phonetic language. Then we talked about how alphabets in other languages are just an arbitrary set of symbols, but in Vedic Sanskrit, it is very systematic science in itself. We talked very briefly about ka, kha, ga, gha, ga, cha, cha, ja, jha, ja, ta, ta, da, dha, na, and we talked about their meanings. They are called the Vargakshar or the matrix. We talked about which is the base vowel. Uh, we talked about u, the 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 different vowels. Today, with that overview, we will now start with something more fundamental. I'll try to keep it as less theoretical as possible, but certain theory is important for you. Please understand the knowledge of the objective of this knowledge is not just to understand the mechanics of how the language works, but also the philosophy behind it, which is also the philosophy of Sanatan Dharma, the philosophy of Hinduism. So, so one thing, what is the question arises? Now I understand in English there is a challenge. What is a, I would use the word syllable or say an alphabet. In Sanskrit they are not called syllable. I don't know what is an equivalent word for what is used in Sanskrit. In Sanskrit it is called what is a Varna. Varna. Varna also means choice. Varna also means a certain color, a texture. So it's a choice that you make about what is the way you are going to present yourself. Now, in Vedic Sanskrit, the question comes, what is this Varna? And then they say that Varna is Akshara. Akshara means a plus char. A means not. Even in English, uh, you use a typical, let me, so for example, the word is typical, you add an a, it becomes not typical, atypical symptoms. So the use of a as a negation is very common across world. So here also a char means something which destroys. So akshar is something which never gets destroyed. That is akshar. Akshar never gets destroyed. So whatever you speak, whatever you pronounce, it never gets destroyed. That is the concept. And which also means that when you speak, you have to speak with a lot of responsibility. We'll get into this philosophy later. There are far more deeper connotations of what is meant by something which never gets destroyed. We will almost enter into the parlance of Sankhya Darshan, which talks about what exists, what doesn't exist, what can cease to exist, what cannot come to exist. So, probably if we have time, if Ishwar grants the ability, we will also do a detailed study of all the six darshanas, and Sankhya Darshan would be very crucial in that. Now, so the whole point is that because it is indestructible, you are supposed to use your pronunciation, use your communication, use your vocal cords, use this gift of expressing yourself in the most responsible way. Now, the question next comes is, how does how does Varna emerge? So, how does this emerge in the first place? So, here, what Panini Muni says is that air, Vayu, plus empty space, for lack of any. See, most of these Sanskrit words have no equivalent in Western language, or even if they have an equivalent, they have started using them in some different connotations. So, my strong recommendation would be that those who are trying to understand Sanskrit through English should use directly Sanskrit words. And over time, what we will do is we will use our Sanskrit glossary, because they are not translated. Translatables. There is a book, I think, Sanskrit in Translatables by Rajiv Malhotra ji, which talks about this aspect that many words in Sanskrit we don't have a translation in English, but then we use it. For example, yajna, yajna, yagya, whatever way you pronounce. We'll talk about the accurate pronunciation. So, in all English translations, they will say this means sacrifice. No, that doesn't mean sacrifice. That is something else. So, what happens is they use cunningly a wrong meaning, and then they say that, oh, animal sacrifice is called yajna. So it's kind of stupid. So this plus this, they create vibration, and this vibration emerges from your, again, I don't think this is the accurate word, belly button, but here we say nabhi. It emerges from nabhi, goes to mouth, and produces sound. This sound plus meaning becomes shabd. Shabd, or what we call word, but actually word is not the right form. Shabd means, I don't know how to say, I can only say meaningful utterance. Shabd is a shabd. Shabd. And next it says ki how does this whole process begin in the first place? This whole process begins because of, is triggered by will or sankalp of atma, which is called soul. I don't know why they call soul, but which is, I think we should use this word, atma. So it is triggered by the willpower or the sankalp of the atma. So the whole idea is that whatever we speak, whatever we utter, it is called a shabd. And vyakaran, Sanskrit, the language is study of shabd. That is shabd only when, number one, there is a use of will, there is a use of sankalp, and there is meaning. Rest, Ishwar has created our body, our biomechanical system in a way that pronunciation happens. So, why study this? If we study this, number one, we become sharp, we become master of will, and because will determines your destiny, you become master of destiny. So, simply by study of how to pronounce properly and making a resolve that whenever I have to speak, I'll only speak with responsibility. What you have to do, number one, speak responsibly, uh, even hear responsibly. Hear responsibly. So speak and hear only responsibly. Avoid anything which is meaningless, is a strict no, or negative meaning is a strict no. Means if you are watching Netflix, you are watching streaming platforms, you are watching cinema, you are doing anything which is trash, which has been given to you as an agenda item, stay away from it. Only hear, listen what is good for you. You can consume educational content, you can consume healthy entertainment. When you speak, you have to speak in responsible ways. That makes it all a speech, that makes it all a shabd. And shabd itself, just the very act of saying and doing, not even doing, just the act of listening and uh, speaking meaningful and responsibly, with will, which uses your will, that itself will transform your life, your health, everything. So this is what an important essence you have to understand. Now, last time we discussed about consonants. Now let us jump into vowels or swar. Swar, vowels, क्षम्यताम, and we have already discussed vyanjan, consonants. We discussed it briefly, some part of it, partially, and then there are some other forms. Let us now put a deep dive in swar. Swar are, as I think we discussed last time, they are hrisv, dirgh, plut. So these are the three kinds of swar we have. This hrisv is short pronunciation. This is and this is So one, double, triple. Now here there is a difference, and I think it's a matter of, I would say, more of a convention that it is presented in this way, because practically this is what is used mostly, which is if you make a table of, say, hrisv, let me try to get some, let me make some bolder lines. Okay, blue lines, page color, let me make it light. Okay, this looks slightly better. So suppose I make a table, hrisv, dirgh, plut. Let me use some convenience. I am putting a capital R because it's not simple, right? It's a hrisv. We'll talk about the pronunciation. That is what this topic is about. Dirgh and pluta. So whenever I write an A in the end, that doesn't mean pluta or dirgha. If that be the case, I'll write double A. This means a, pluta. It's not plut, it's pluta. Dirgha. When you are speaking Sanskrit, make a habit of speaking accurately. unless the there is a halant at the end, we just stop there. Hrisva. It's not hrisva. It's hrisva. It's not dirgh. It's dirgha. It's not plut. It's pluta. So here, first alphabet is now here. I'll give you the most complete form here. This is a. Dirgh of a is actually a two, and plut is a three. They use a symbol three just to say, or let me write a three in a more this manner. Okay, three in English format, which means a. Then a a a. E. This has a symbol E, and this is simply called. Okay, I'm mixing Hindi and English symbols. Let me stick to English symbols. E, U, U, U. Then there is this symbol. We'll talk about it. It's people call it re. It's not re. It is something else. There is a double this thing we use re, and then re. Then there's also a re. We'll call re. It's not that. There is no double of this. Sometimes people say, okay, there are people who say, see, you can use any part of your mouth to produce any kind of a sound, but here we have to standardize certain things. So these are largely, I would say, conventions. They represent a systematic way of standardization, but you can always come up with new forms of pronunciation. That is what many voice animation artists do. There is no short of it. A, I, I, O, O, then O. This is what is conventionally written. I differ from this. I would rather make it even more honest, and for sake of completion, say it would be A, 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 and this A, and this is found in certain, I think, Telugu and the Tamil language, and here it will be I, I. So let's O, 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 O. So this is not O. This is O. There is no O and there is no A in Sanskrit. It's I, A, I, O, O. So why there is no A? Why there is no O? It's just a matter of, I would say, convention, that you have to choose certain alphabets. You can always have so many different kinds of pronunciation, so they are left out because their work is done by rest of the alphabets. So this is the chart, which is a very complete, strict chart. But in practicality, the way language is used, there are certain alphabets which are not seen. For example, A is not seen, I is not seen, A is not seen. So what happens is that for conventional purpose, you combine these two row together and you say, okay, let me say this is A, this is A, this is A. Let me write it more beautifully. A. So this is what is used. This is what is conventionally used. The complete form should be this, because this doesn't have much usage. So it's a more of a simplification, which we say a. So because otherwise, strictly speaking, a is not a dirgh or a double uh, extension of a. So a. Then again doesn't make logical sense. It has to be a. A opens a mouth in a different way. A opens a mouth in a different way. Similarly, many people don't agree to existence of this. These two don't exist. Mostly there are, I'm not aware of any word. A. So either people used A or A. So the convention is that these are shifted here. They say ki this is here. Same with this. These two are shifted here. O, O, and these two are not used. So strictly speaking, this is what it should be, strictly speaking. And if you use this complete set, it may not be useful for you to understand Sanskrit, because Sanskrit will use the refined form, which is where there is no, these don't exist. But when you try to explore the rest of the world and see Sanskrit as the mother of all the languages, then you realize that all these alphabets, they make some kind of a sense. So the conventional form, let me just write very simply for you. The conventional form is, I'll just say I'll okay, let me just r- risva, dirgh. Oh, I should have dirgh, pluta. The conventional form, after simplifications, not the generic form, is a, e, u, ri, ri. This is a, e, u, This is the same with a double loop. This is nothing for this. This, of course, for all the alphabets. This is a. So just this alphabet, and you put a 3. U, V, Re, Re. We'll talk about these pronunciations later. Most of them get it wrong. A, A, I, I, O, O, Au, Au. So this is the vowel chart. Vowel chart. Swar. This is largely what it is. We, for our convention, to also transcript it in English, will use certain. It's a form of a variation of the itrans and IAST conventions which are used, but I have tried to simplify it further to make it more intuitive to type in Roman. We will use a for this, e for this, u for this, capital RI for this, LRI for this, double A for this, double E for this. For this, because double U doesn't exist, we will use double U doesn't exist in English, so it sounds very awkward. You can use it, but we will also use double U. Here, this will be RRI, this will be A, this will be I, this will be O, this will be OU. And for Plutswar, we'll simply say A3. This rarely occurs in your communication. This occurs more when you are doing into uchcharan, pronunciation, mantra, chant, etc. So you won't encounter it when you are preparing. For example, one of the goal of this course will be to also, in 6 months, try to see if we can cover the entire curriculum of UPSC optional paper in Sanskrit, or those who want to give their if you want your child to get an admission into PhD of Sanskrit for most of the universities, we will try to cover that in the next 6 to 8 months, so that jet NARF, jet JRF, whatever said those exams, you are completely covered. So, but there is more to it. So when you are writing Sanskrit, you won't encounter. So this English, of course, the Roman script will not be useful for that, but it will be useful for you to type on social media, on chat among each other, so that you can practice and learn. Because typing in Devanagari is far more complicated on social media, on mobile, because you can only type what Google suggests to you, or your typewriter suggests you can't type what you want exactly, which is the control we want. So until we have that kind of a technology, we will use this. And also, as I said, one of the goal of this course is Ved Vijjan Vishwaguru. We have to become a Vishwaguru. We have to spread the message. So because Sanskrit is the English is the lingua franca, let us use Roman script to spread the wisdom of Sanskrit to those for whom learning script at a later age may be far more complicated. For this, we will use U3. For this, we will use RI3, simple. For this, we will use LRI3. This you will use A3, A3, O3, O3. This is very rare. I think the only one that you will mostly come across will be this. and sometimes in very niche application when you're calling somebody, uh, that's a different thing. Otherwise, this is what we learned. Next class, we will try to understand the different ways of pronouncing these, and there are more variations of these. So we'll master the swar vijnan, the vowel science, in the next class. I'll share the notes of these with you, so don't worry. And then we will go back to the consonants that we studied and complete the whole source of consonant, and then do some practice of how to pronounce. So, uh, StreamYard, there are some questions I can take, because after that I just have to, uh, I don't have any other errands. Hi, sir, you are doing a fantastic job. I am introduced this one. I am done with it. I will watch entire Sanskrit learning series. Beautiful. You should not only watch, you should also, in your way, also teach some other people. And this will be really, really useful for you and others. So, knowledge, when you share with somebody, that only comes back multifold. Not only the knowledge comes back multifold, but your brain also operates at a different level, and you become much more sharper, much more happier person. So, Jai Bhavani, Namo Namah, Om.